My name is Maira Genovese. I'm the founder and CEO of MG Power.
A bit about your journey and what brought you to this point right now.
So MG Power is an integrated market agency. When I moved here, I did not speak English at all. So I work in pubs, I work in clubs. Was, lucky enough to get my first internship at Alexander McQueen.
You just have to start, right? That's what everybody says now, just start.
It just starts. First of all, we buy stories, right? So we're talking here about stories. You talk about your story, my story. That's what sells, right?
Yeah.
Never let anyone to tell you what you can and what you can do.
Humanity needs a mountain, an archetypal mountain to climb.
Just push a bit more, and then what comes out the other side is growth.
Any artist or anyone in the creative world, always be confident about what you believe in and what you do.
It was like, don't get cancelled.
Hey Steph, you've had an amazing day today. You were on Rocket Pod and you met some really inspiring guys.
Myra, welcome to Rocket Pod.
Thank you so much for having me. It's
Yes,
a pleasure.
welcome.
Yes, very nice to be here. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for the invite.
Yeah, of course. We're really excited, obviously. The connection with your husband, Bruno, who will get his shout out because he played a part, right, in the whole journey of your company.
Yeah, and also I'd love to hear a bit about your journey and what brought you to this point right now, because it's always helpful for our listeners to understand where, these talents and beautiful people come from. So
yes, my name is Maira Genovese. I'm the founder and CEO of MG Power. So MG Power is an integrated market agency that I founded in 2015. Oh my God, it's been a long time. I'm from Brazil. I've been in London for 20 years. It's going to be 21 years in December.
Okay.
So it's kind of, I'm just thinking now, it's going to be half of my time I lived in Brazil and then half of my life I've lived in London. So it's going to be equal by December.
Yeah.
I moved to London like 20 years ago. And then at the time I moved with Bruno, my husband. But at the time he was not my husband. We were just like a boyfriend and girlfriend.
Just had a thing going
And I came first to do a master in fashion, more focused on PR and marketing.
Okay.
And then Bruno ended up coming a few months later because he got an opportunity at HSBC. And then the whole idea was to stay here just for 2 years, 3 years maximum.
Okay.
And go back to Brazil. So we never actually planned to be here, to stay and to have a family. So things happen. We really believe that, the universe and the plan on your life, it's sometimes you think that's going to be one way and then the universe comes and changes everything. And initially, so when I moved here, talk about my journey before I get to MG. When I moved here, I did not speak English at all. I was just saying, my name is Mara, and I'm looking for a job. And that was all. And of course, then I went to study English, but at some point, I had to find ways of working because, at the time when I moved from Brazil to here, conversion rate for pounds and reais was just like it was 1.8. It's like £1 valued at the time £8, which is a lot.
Yeah.
So after 6 months living here, so I have to figure out because I will have to do some work in order to continue, my studies in here.
Yeah, of course.
And then I've done everything that a foreign would do when you move to a new country. So I work in pubs, I work in clubs. And yes, I did for 2 years all the type of, jobs that someone that comes from another country would do if you don't speak the language. But what kept me, doing what I was doing, and then, of course, I came from Brazil. I was working at American Express in São Paulo, so I had a solid career. And then moved to London and not speaking the language, had to start my career again, working pubs, serving pints, and I didn't even know how to pronounce and say the names of the beers. But I always had a vision of I always tried to keep my mind on like why I was doing that, right? What was the purpose of me putting that position? Because I was always looking ahead rather than look at the present moment. So I knew that in order to get to where I am today, I would have to follow through a journey.
Yeah.
And then I did that, and then at some point, I started improving my English, and I got my first job in marketing fashion, which what I was actually aiming at the time for my career. And then I was, lucky enough to get my first internship at Alexander McQueen, which is like a very well-known brand, a dream. And at the time, like I didn't even know the importance of McQueen and how big the brand was when I started. And then I had an opportunity to work with him, although I was an intern, but I had access to him on fashion shows, on PR. And that's how my career started, as an intern there. And then I moved to another internship at Saint Laurent. So I was, again, lucky enough to start my internship in big groups on fashion companies. Okay. And then from there, my career started. And for 15 years, I worked in different fashion house, big brands, always in marketing, PR. And in 2014, when I was pregnant with my son Antonio, I was just already 15 years working solid, achieved a lot in my career as I was, aiming when I moved to London. And I was just like, okay, now I'm going to have a baby, and I wanted to revisit what I want to my life. And I think I want to slow down a bit, being a mom and, having a balance of time. Yeah. And I'm always being a very curious person, and I love marketing. I love communication. I love PR. Everything that is related to communication, it's what drives me. And at the time, Instagram was already a thing, but it was just like a social app that people were sharing photos. There was no
the early days.
Videos, very early days. I'm talking about 2013, 14, where like Facebook was already a big thing. So everyone was actually very engaged on Facebook, but we didn't have the videos, the stories, nothing of that. It's just like a
pictures and filters.
And filters.
Yeah.
Exactly. The filters. I remember the excitement about the filters. And then I was just like, okay, this is going to be something. It's like, I love to say that it's very much like AI now that everyone is talking about AI. What's going to be the future of marketing comes with AI? How this is going to impact, creativity, etc., etc. So at the time, the conversation was the same, but for social media.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, this is going to be the future of marketing. I think now it's going to be more about peer-to-peer, rather than brand engaging and selling. It's going to be, influencers influencing people to purchase, And then I said to Bruno, my husband's like, I'm not going to go back after maternity leave. I'm going to start my own business. And he was like, what?
I want to start my own business too.
Yeah, and he was like, what are you going to talk about? Like, you worked so hard to be where you are today, just like all the struggles at the beginning, and now you got a very solid career. Yeah. We are having a baby. Yeah. That's not the time for doing another craziness.
Take a risk,
And but then on the next day he said, Bruno really well. He said, okay, if that's what you want, I will support you, and I'm always gonna be here. I'm not gonna stop you off, doing what you want to do. I'm gonna be here, but just think through it, because now we are starting a family, and we cannot take risks in a sense financially, because yes, when you have a child, it's more responsibility.
Yeah.
When it's just you, it's one thing. When you have another human being. And then I decided to start MG, but at the beginning it was a talent management agency. It was not an agency that worked directly with brands. Although it was the two things, because I started doing some consultancy for some fashion brands, helping them on creating digital strategy or educating them what is social media is going to look like in the future. So always started very organically, to be honest. I never had a business plan. Okay, this is what I want. This is what I want to take.
Yeah.
Was just like, I want to take it easy.
Yeah.
You just have to start, right? That's what everybody says now. Just start.
It's just start.
Follow your gut.
Yeah.
You just followed your gut. You
I
wanted to
just
do it.
follow my
You
gut.
did it.
Yes, yes. And everything started happening really quickly, very quickly. Because Antonio was born in 2014, sorry. And then for the first 6 months, I was like fully dedicated to him. But at the same time, I was like figuring out how to open a company in UK, what the name is going to look like, how I would do the approach. And then in 2015 beginning, I kick off. And then I have my first client, was a fashion brand that wanted to understand like, what is Instagram? How can I create my account? How to create content?
Okay.
And so I was helping her, and then she recommended me to all small brands, no big brands.
Okay.
Very like upcoming
Yeah.
lifestyle and fashion brands. But this is how we start. And but the turning point was when I was a friend of mine. She's a very big influencer in Brazil. And at the time on social media, her name is Camila Coutinho. And at the time, we didn't have analytics on social. Basically, what was available was like number of followers, comments, and likes. That was the three metrics available. That's all. And of course, because there was only three metrics, the brands were looking for big numbers of followers. So whoever has the biggest numbers of followers, the brands want to engage with, because the whole concept is like, if you have 10,000 followers and if you have 1 million followers, I'm going to engage with the 1 million followers because they're going to give me more awareness, more, conversion and all the numbers. And Camila was already with 1 million followers. And it was very unique at the time for an influencer to have 1 million. It was just like Chiara Ferragini is from Italy. She already had. So few influencers worldwide had over 1 million. So she started having a demand to come to Europe, to US to do work with brands. And then she called me and said, I don't know what's happening, but I'm getting emails from Adidas. I'm getting emails from Jimmy Choo. I'm getting emails from so many international brands. And my team in Brazil, they don't speak English. So I need someone that is there to help me to negotiate these deals, to understand, because I think there's a huge opportunity for me. And I was like, no, I'm sorry. I don't work with people. I don't know how to do marketing or PR or managing talent. I work with brands. But she was very persistent. Please, I need help. And I was like, okay, I will give it a go. So I started representing Camila, and I think that was the turning point for me, because then I was working with brands and representing Camila. So I start having an understand of the both sides.
Yeah, both sides of the coin.
Yes, of the like creators versus brands.
Yeah, and we're really intrigued because they're obviously very different to deal with, right? And we can definitely get into all the other topics like AI and whatnot. But that's quite the journey. And could you sort of go through a little bit more, like, so how do you describe MG Empower today? Yeah,
I think today we have evolved a lot from when I started. As I said, I started first consulting for small brands, then Camila came, so I started representing talent. Camila opened a lot of doors for us, for me especially, because big brands want to work with her. So I had access to big brands because of her. And then getting access to big brands was an opportunity for me to offer the brand service as well to those brands. And then we kind of start changing the service as an influencer market agency and a talent management agency. So purely we're doing strategy for brands on influencer marketing and representing talents.
Fantastic. Okay.
But the industry evolved, right? So influencer marketing back in time was an add-on on a marketing plan.
Yes. Yeah, this is a very tiny part.
Yeah, tiny part of a tiny budget.
And it's
right?
now kind of flipped.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the budget for influencer marketing was like 5% of a marketing budget of a brand. Today is 85%.
Is it really?
And you were like, I saw it coming.
Yeah, so today is crazy how
Yeah.
this flipped. So, but the industry evolved, and influencer market today is not an add-on anymore. It's the core,
Yes.
right? So it's the core of any marketing plan. But influencer market today alone does not work. So you have to have your paid amplification of the content of the creators. You have to have your UGC plan. You have to have your experiential with influencers,
Right.
because you have to transport the experience online of the creators and bring that to real life on offline activations, where you need to bring creators to access
Yes.
the fans, to
Yeah.
access the consumers. So now it's a 360. And that said, we have to change the agency as the industry evolve. So today, Imaging Power is like as an integrated market agency, because we don't think just on an influencer marketing element anymore, because we don't believe that one thing isolated is going to work. So when a client come to us, it's more about understanding what's your challenge and how can we solve your challenge through our integrated approach.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got
And
it.
actually, I remember because I spoke to MGM Power when I had another startup called Flexi, and it was a subscription platform.
Okay.
And I really wanted to work with you guys, but I think because of that holistic approach, we were too small.
Yeah.
We weren't the right customer profile, because we couldn't afford you basically, but we really wanted it. But I loved it, and it was like, we'll come back, come back later. But of course, sadly that business actually didn't work. But but I got a little bit of exposure to this holistic approach, and that would explain why the fees are the fees at the time. So.
Yes, but yeah, it's evolved, and we evolved. We always have to be evolving,
to,
right?
yeah.
Because the industry changes really quickly. Every week is a new feature, is a new tool, is a new platform. And the brands, they demand us on like what's changing. How do I change my approach now? So we always have to be on top of the game of the change.
Do you think your obviously your career in the fashion industry, obviously fashion is always changing really fast, so you're always looking at what the next trend is and what's in vogue and what isn't, and I think there's a real focus on that. Do you think that has influenced the way that you've approached the view of an integrated marketing agency? Because it's very different, but I just wondered if you've ever seen the pattern, or if it is that kind of a mindset really that can you comment on that at all?
Yeah, no, I think definitely helped and influenced the approach when I started creating the agency. One of the things that for sure that helped with the mindset was the global approach.
Okay.
Because MG is a global integrated market. So we are based here, headquarters here, but we work globally.
Everywhere.
Like if a client come to us and say, I have this challenge, the first question is, what are your key markets? Because with social today, you cannot just do you can do a dedicated campaign for UK. Yes, of course, you can target creators that has a demographic that is higher in UK. But even if you're based UK, your content always gonna have access to someone that lives in US or in any other market. And when I was working in fashion, I remember one of my experience was at a Burberry. And when I was working at Burberry, the PR department, I remember that I had to manage 18 PR agencies.
Okay.
And market agents.
Wow, that's a lot.
One in Mexico, one in Brazil, one in US, one in Japan, one in China, one in UK, one in France, and then I was just like, what if there was one agency that can have a global, approach, that they can take care of a brand globally rather than us having to be working with 18 agencies. And I remember when I was at Burberry clearly thinking, I think one day I want to have an agency and I want to be global, because this is nonsense. And then I think that came as an influence for sure when I started the agency. And of course, working on the holistic approach today, again, my experience working in big corporations, especially in fashion, You always have your marketing, your PR, your email marketing, SEO team. So it was all very spread out. So everyone working isolation. Like there was, of course, there was the, you know, the communication and trying to be integrated, but was not as integrated as should be. And there was another influence. Like if you have an agent that everything is very holistic, integrated, how much powerful that would be.
Okay.
And obviously you've learned a lot of things like working in the fashion industry, and I'm really curious how you translated some of the you know, just how you, I guess, you were treated maybe in the industry, and how, you know, other people treat other people, and how you've kind of transmuted those experiences into the way that you run MG Empower. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, that's a very, very, very good question. Thank God fashion is not as it should be, is not as it used to be in the past today, because fashion industry changed so much. But when I started, was a very difficult environment. So very different environment, lots of egos, as you can imagine, lots of especially for myself, that I was foreign, my English was not as good. So there was a lot of like bitchiness about like what she's doing here. She doesn't even speak English. Look what she's wearing. So there was a lot of ego, a lot, and bitchiness, like very cruel. Not just with me. I've saw it with so many people, and the discrimination if you're not English, and or if you don't have an experience. So it was at the time, again, it changed a lot today because they were forced to change because the words changed, right? But at my time, there was a lot of moments that I was just like, I don't know if I wanted to be working in this environment, because it's very toxic,
cutthroat.
Very toxic, and it's very glamorous, but at the same time, so it was not easy at all. But the learnings from that is amazing, right? How can you build your resilience to that? How can you build your adaptability into that environment, and what to take from that experience? The good you keep, and the bad you just look like, I'm not gonna do this. Yes.
It's very much a mindset too, because where there's pain, quite often there's lots of growth.
Yes.
And it guides you. But I think it's having that mindset. I mean, you know, we're all human, so we all get hurt sometimes along the way. But and I'm sure there's some scar tissue you've got from.
Exactly.
But it is that mindset. But yeah, there's also the opportunity for change. You know, you said the fashion industry now is quite different. I'm sure there's areas where it needs to grow up a little bit, but
exactly. And then how do I apply these learnings and this growth and this adaptability and resilience from fashion to MG now? Is like the opposite, right? So for me, kindness is the number one on my agency.
Nice.
Diversity, it's a must. It's like, you know, for me, it's just the diversity is one of the key elements. It's like, I don't care where you're from. I don't care if your English is not perfect. What I'm looking for is someone that's willing to work, to learn, and to experience and to grow with us. So it's less about CV for me. It's about a more life experience. And then for me, this is like fundamental part of our business, is giving opportunity and giving this empathy towards different backgrounds, different language, different culture. And this is I brought from my experience from fashion, because it was the opposite when I started, right? So now how can I use from that and do completely different with my business?
And it's a great example of, you can still have, you know, on the outside it's very professional and very nice looking, but on the inside you know you can still be kind and a good person. And exactly, have a healthy working environment. Do you have any other sort of challenges that you had to overcome?
My God, I have a list.
I know. Any that stand out the most?
Wow. Okay, no, I have a list, because the thing is, everyone that's listening to our conversation, don't think that being starting a business, and you guys know, it's not just always flowers. Actually, is the opposite. I say that, you know, it's not for everyone. So you really wanted to do it, and having the strength and the courage, and again resilience, I think for me is a number one word. I've been through a lot, but I would highlight what I've been going through the past 12 months, which actually is going to be 1 year in August. It's crazy how time flies by. In 2021, I sold MGE for an American company, and I was not looking at the time to sell the business because we were like 5 years old.
Okay.
So I was very young. But this opportunity came a little bit out of the blue, to be honest. And it was at the time, again, I was not thinking about doing an MSA or an acquisition. But the opportunity came, and I started talking with a lot of advisors, and they were like, "Oh, looks like a very good opportunity for a business that's 5 years old. So I don't think you're gonna get that level of, offer and opportunity anytime soon."
Yeah.
Because normally, like, it takes 3 years to actually you start seeing, your business moving the needle, and then more 5 years. So it's a long journey, and because we're very young, and I was like, okay, it's a good opportunity, let's do it. And then at the beginning, the idea was not to sell 100% of the shares, but then in the end, we end up selling the whole business 100% to this American company. So that was 2021. And first year was very good. Second year was very good. But then the beginning of 2023, they were like a big corporation, like B2B and B2C.
Okay.
And MGE, there was nothing to do with the core of their business.
Right.
But why they acquired us is because some of their B2C business, they were clients of MGE.
Okay.
And then the CEO said, okay, if I acquired MGE, I can get MGE to be, like an in-house agency of our B2C brands, but they can continue to be independent, having external clients, and the revenue that comes from the external clients pays off the pays off the B2C. So the whole approach strategically and financially for them was very good, right? Because they have so many brands on B2C, we have so many external clients, and then why not? So the beginning of 2023, they were a public company, so we could follow through what was happening with the share pricings and etc. And the value of the company starts, getting down, and share price getting down. So there was a lot of, speculation about the future of this company. And I was, at the time, I had a very good relationship with the CEO, and I trust him 100%. So I was like, what's going on now? Everything's going to be fine. It's just a period. We're going to overcome this. Don't worry, and etc. I was like, okay, don't worry, because I have trust. So if he's saying everything is going to be fine, everything is going to be fine. But then things start changing really, really, really rapidly. Like the downfall of then was very quick. So we blinked, and then everything started collapsing.
Wow.
And they exit the CEO that I was very close of. They start firing a lot of people, and then they start impacting on my people as well. So we have to make a lot of redundancies.
That's hard.
And then in July, there was the speculation in the market was getting really intense that they will file for Chapter 11 in New York, Delaware. And I was like, okay, great. If they do it, we go down with them, because I sold 100% of the business. So what are we going to do? And then I was just like, okay, I need to find a way to rescue this business, but how? And I was just like, how I'm going to do that? And I said to Bruno, I'm going to see if I can buy back. And Bruno's like, how are you going to buy back something that you sold? I was like, I don't know, but it's like my baby, and then we have 65 employees, and we have like over 20 clients. If this guy's filed for Chapter 11, that's it. It's even as if I have to start again. How you go to a client and say, okay, your money that you paid me is gone, but I'm starting again. Do you want it to continue, like, to build the trust and the credibility again?
Take years.
It's not as easy as you say. And then I start contact the board of directors of this company in US and start chasing them, you know, please someone pick up the phone, someone talk to me, until one day, you know, this person for the board, he called me on a weekend and said, okay, so we got your emails. What do you want? I was like, I need to buy my business back because I don't know what's going on. You guys don't say anything, but I have the feeling, and everyone is talking, and then the market is talking. I need to buy back. And then he said, okay, but if you wanted to, you have 3 weeks. I was like, how am I going to buy a business in 3 weeks? So MSA normally takes like 6 months. Like when I sold, it took 6 months. How am I going to buy back in 3 weeks? And he said, I cannot say anything. If you wanted to buy, you have 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we have to get together like lawyers, advisors, and like a bunch of people to help us. And we've managed to sign and buy back on the 4th of August. And then on Monday, the 7th, they filed for Chapter 11.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
What a great story.
Yeah, that was and then the whole journey since I bought it back to now, it's not been easy as well, because there's a lot of baggage that is still we're cleaning from the past, because they left us in a very, very difficult financially position that we had to do a lot of cleanup. Like, thankfully, we're in a much better position now, and I feel much more, you know, in peace now, because it's been a very intense period from buying back, acquiring, and fixing and cleaning all the, you know, all the liabilities and all the, was a lot. But now we are, you know, I've managed to do my third M&A. So I did 3 M&As in 2 years.
Wow. That's a lot. That's intense.
That's intense.
You're busy.
Yeah.
So you must have learned an absolute ton going through that.
A lot.
Like probably 6 MBAs or something.
More than if I did like 3 masters, 3 universities. Yes.
So there must be a lot of, is there obviously there's always I always look for the silver lining, but as far as the business now, having been through that, having been through the cleanup, you know, is it, it sounds like it's in a much stronger position than you started with because of the experience and because
it's something that I'm realizing now, because of course when everything started happening, there was a lot of fear and it was like an unknown kind of path that I was going through. Like, okay, if it happens, great, but we need a lot to clean up, a lot to resolve, a lot to prove that everything that has happened, there's nothing to do with us, meaning myself as the founder and CEO and the team behind me. And then, but I think now, to your point, we're in a much stronger position from when I sold, when I bought it back, and now I feel like it's this story. My story before resonates a lot, right? Being a foreign, starting a business, having global brands, and, you know, doing those amazing campaigns that we got awards and etc. But now I feel this story resonates even more with creators, with brands, with investors, because it's not for everyone.
I was literally just gonna say, it touches back to what you were saying earlier, that it's not for everyone, because now you're in a better position. You went through so many dips and troughs and those pain points, and really, if you're building something, even if it's a personal brand or a company, like if you don't love it, if you don't really care about what it was made for and what the mission is, then you will just throw in the towel when you go through those things, right? You're not going to fight to try and get it back.
Exactly. I think the passion is what really motivated me to not giving up, number one. And I think second is the people, right? Because the MGE is all about, like the name says, it's MG Empower. So we empower people. People is the people that work for us, and brands is our clients. So the mission is empowering, right?
Everyone.
And to think that I have a team that's being so loyal, working so hard, and believing in the company and the vision. And at some point we'll go to them and say, actually, this is it, guys. Thank you so much for everything. And then do the same for my clients that gave me the, the opportunity and the trust. So I think the passion, but also the, the responsibility and of who was believing and then giving me the opportunity, and not, and kind of let them behind. And it was just a mix of feelings, right?
Right.
And the purpose for why you're doing. I think the purpose is it's just so important. It's like why you're going through this. Like why. And I truly believe in process of life, right? Sometimes you have to go through tough process because it's part of our journey, and the hard process will actually make you more, resilient. It's going to change your mindset. You're going to start seeing things in a different perspective. So the hard journey, I think, is the most important part of our life as a human being. Because without going through tough journeys, why we're here, right? Why we're in this existence, in this earth. So we need to evolve. And sometimes to evolve is this. You need to go through tough.
Pressure makes diamonds.
Pressure make diamonds.
Yeah, it's so true. And I have 3 daughters. Eldest is 20, 18, 16. And I have that conversation, and they've all been through really dark times as teenagers.
Yes.
And, even, well, I guess the 20-year-olds just turned 20. It's trying to explain that it's happening for them and not to them. So it's almost like, how can they switch that? You still have to go through the pain.
You still have to go through the pain.
And sometimes it's doing the hard thing now to make it easier later.
Yeah.
And I guess in your journey, not only have you been responsible, you've been accountable for the outcome as well. And it's very inspiring.
And sometimes
you give up,
and sometimes
you
get and to be on this position that I am right now, you get everything. You got the love, you got the hate.
Yeah.
Right, because as a business leader, you have to make difficult decisions, right? Tough decisions. And to go through this process, I had to make tough decisions because I have to shrink the business.
Yeah.
I have to reduce costs in order to actually continue to grow again. And reducing costs means reducing people, right? Cutting people, which for me was very, very hard because, MG is all about empowering people. How I'm going to have to cut people now. But at the same time, we need to think about the business and the people that need to stay in the business, and you need to make hard decisions.
Yeah.
But when you have to make difficult decisions, you got all the hate, right? You got all the hate on social media, and you got all the hate on these glass doors, and you get all the hate on message directly to you, and you go like, okay, so this is nothing to do with me. It's to do with that person. That she needs to be healed. The problem is with her because I gave this person job. I gave opportunities. And now I have to think about the business. So how to actually use your mindset as well when you got all the hate as well. Because you got, if everything is going really well, oh, you're amazing, right? Oh my gosh, she's a star. Look. But then when things start going in the direction that you're not expecting, you have to make difficult decisions. Oh my God, she's the worst person.
The worst person in the world.
So and then you need to work out with a mindset. And then to your daughters, again, as a female founder, and then unfortunately, women, we got. It's more even challenge for us from a young age. It's not just my age. You said that you have 3, they're teenagers. I think for us, women, girls, teenagers, it's very different from the beginning because it's still we don't have the equality that we should have between women and men. And it's clear today. So I think from my experience that I've been through now, trying to find investors, talking a lot with VCs and private equity. And then when I started my business as well, when I moved to London, be a woman, being a girl, being a teenager, it's very difficult because we don't get the same treat. We don't have the same respect that men have. And I think there's a lot of work that we need to do collaborative between men and women. How can we make, everything more equal, right? Because we end up suffering more for some reason, because there's no equality. So I'm using this experience to help teenagers, to help young girls. And I've been part of a board of Free is a community of women, teenagers, and girls. So how can we empower young girls? How can we empower teenagers to free themselves, right, from the stereotypes or for things that people say that we should do and should not do? Because I think with my experience, what can I do more beyond MG? So how can I help young girls? How I can help teenagers? How I can help young entrepreneurs? So how can I talk more about, with investor private equities and all this, this finance word on like why we're not investing in female founder business?
Yeah, and actually I think 1% of VC money goes to female founders and 10% goes to mixed gender startups. And it's like, why is that?
Why is that?
And I think it might be 2% now, but it is changing, but we've got a long way to go.
A long way to go.
And let's face it, a lot of societies around the world, it's very patriarchal, and where the money and power is, there's look at the US, look how polarized that is. So I think, as a parent, I'd like to, raise independent human beings, but, independent women. And I tell them they can do anything, but also, it's hard, right? You've just got to believe in it.
You have to believe
in
it
yourself, and and there's so much like online, obviously, in the digital world. That
if you want
comparing
to,
to what other people are doing, and a lot of it's statistically irrelevant. The beautiful person that's standing next to a Learjet, that's. Probability of that happening is 1 in a billion probably, but as young girls especially, I mean boys have pressures too, but I think especially for the girls, they're comparing themselves to this person that doesn't really exist in reality. It's almost like so
I think that's why it's this education. And now for me, because it's the paradox, right? Because I have an agency that creates all these campaigns for global brands. But then I'm also a female founder. I know the struggles of being a woman, of being, a girl, and the comparison on social. So for me, it's just like, okay, so how can I use my experience to support young girls to overcome all the challenges, all these comparisons, and et cetera, because I need to do something with my experience that is beyond MGE, and that's what I'm looking, like what I'm doing. And the social media, again, it's crazy what you just said, because it's so true, right? Social media is great, and I think it's changed the world in many positive aspects. However, there is the negative aspect of social media, and how to actually deal with that, control that, and not let that social media impact on you, on who you are, in terms of looking at the screen and thinking that others people's life is better than yours, or that you're not successful enough, that you're not pretty enough, that you're not achieving much. It's just like because it's affecting mental health of a lot of people.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's amazing too. I mean, my wife and I are very hands-on parents. Our children have amazing emotional support, but even with that, my heart has been broken so many times. I'm fortunate that my daughters share with me, but it's really hard. And these are children, or human beings that have a supportive parent. So what happens with the ones that don't have that? It's like, it's scary actually.
Yes,
it is really scary. But I continue to get my heart broken, and it's like trying to have them look at it a different way, and they're doing great as well. But it's just everyone goes through cycles. But,
everyone through cycles, and I think it's great that they have the support of parents, because as you said, it's not every children, kids, girls, boys that have the support from parents, especially the emotional support, which I think is the most important one. And how to, it's all about education, right? So that's what I talk a lot with Antonio, It's just like, okay, you can play your video game, you can watch a little bit of YouTube, but just like, don't think this American family series that you're saying that they have everything in their house and the pools and that is this reality, because it is not. But so I think social media, there is the two sides of it.
Yep. It's probably, I mean, it probably does more good than harm, but you just still have to be aware. It's being aware, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
And it's one of those things that if you're in control, it's like anything, any addiction, isn't it? As long as you're in control of it, you know, whether it's booze, food, you know, then you're okay. But if it starts to control you, then that's the danger. And it's just having that awareness that maybe you need to refrain or maybe prune some of the people you're following, and if they're not making you feel good, you know, it's just that awareness. But
100%.
a lot of folks are just in that zone where they're just, you know, in their heads and they're not aware, you know, and that we've touched on this, haven't we?
Yeah, we talk about it all the time, actually.
Yeah,
it's a huge part of it. I mean, one thing I do want to touch on is obviously we all go through these pressure points, and it is really hard for all of us, regardless. And is there any ways that you sort of help, you know, the employees of MG Empower, and also in your mentoring side of things, like how you approach being a leader to people when it comes to being able to get through those issues?
Being a leader, I think, is the most difficult role of all, because a lot of responsibility, right? So being a parent is a lot of responsibility. And being a leader is very hard too. So I've during this tough process, of course, there was a lot of things that could not be said at the time. Right. So it's just how to be through the tough time, how to be transparent in a way, but not saying things that you cannot say yet, because this can impact as well on getting then more anxiety, more stress. Because if at the time when you're going through like, oh, if I don't buy back, they're gonna lose their jobs in 2 weeks. But if I manage to buy back, they will have the job. But I didn't know if I would be able to actually buy back. But they were reading on social, on the internet at Emirates. Again, I said that. They were reading on the internet and social about the company, that the company was not doing well. So they were questioning what's happening, what's going to happen. But I could not be open and super transparent and say, guys, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to try to buy back, but if I don't buy back in 2 weeks, you're gone. So it's just like, that was very tough, because like I cannot tell them that this is happening. You know, of course, my leadership team, yes, they knew it, but I have 64 people. I cannot go to the microphone and say, guys, no. But at the same time, you feel guilt in a sense, because if it didn't work, they will lose their jobs.
And that's just one example as well, right? There's so many things you have to try and navigate.
And so that was the tough, because I could not be completely transparent, not because I didn't want it to. It's because of the circumstance that was a legal circumstance that was happening, that was a confidential thing. So it was very tough. But on normal business as we are right now, I think now what we're trying to do is, because the people that stick with us until now, they're carrying a lot of traumas from the past, right? So like not knowing if this is going to happen, but having to run the business at the same time, pretending that everything was working fine. So now we're doing a big work for those that stayed. How can we help them to heal from the trauma
and feel
secure again? Because it's about the security now. Are we actually secure now? Yes, we are. But there is a lot of healing that needs to be done. And I think it's my role as a leader, because as I healed as well, right? Because not because I am the leader that I don't have to be healing as well. From
exactly.
The
Right, you went through it.
Because I went through
it.
So it's just like, how can I heal myself, but also help them to heal, and making sure that we are back to where we are. Like with the same energy and culture and excitement.
And you also touched on a thing as well. It's like, if you do have an investor or someone acquires you and you carry on obviously running the business, then the culture that you built when you could actually operate in, I mean, in an ideal world, you'd want to operate in pretty much 100% transparency with your staff to build the trust and everything.
Yeah.
But when in those situations, when you have someone, you can't. It's, and this is a consideration for, I mean, I guess entrepreneurs have to consider, who they might, who might acquire their business, and if they're going to stay on, then it might be different, mightn't it?
Yeah,
So,
I think it's and with MG, especially on this new M&A that we've done in February, for the new group that I acquired, some of the shares of the company. For them, it was very clear that if I did not stay, they would not move forward with the acquisition.
You have to stay, and that's normal. That's very normal.
Yeah, and but not just because of me. It's because of the culture that has been built around things that I believe.
Yeah.
And then if the people that are still with us, it's just they're there because they love the work, but also because they love the culture, they love the values that we are about, right? And I think today, especially for the young generation, it's not just about the salary, but it's about the environment, it's about 100%. The culture, it's about the values, it's about the principles. Because when I was young, it was about the salary. There was not much about culture, values, and principle. But this new generation, they're very smart. They start a new job, and if they feel like that's not my values, this is not what I believe. I love the work, but oh my God, this culture, there's nothing to do with what I believe. They live like this. They don't stay.
And that's pushed the industries to change because they realize so many people are coming and going because of that reason.
Because of that. So I think, and then for me at the beginning, was about the culture and the values rather than anything else, because I wanted to create an environment that people will love what they do, but love why you're doing it. Like
definitely something that I'm sure helps you get through all of these things. I think actually I wanted to touch on the name MG Empower, because I read somewhere that there might be another meaning, and perhaps that ties in with how you get yourself through all these things.
Yes, that's it. You did a very good research. Yes. So it's funny because I'm a Christian, and I think there's the resilience that has been built in me, but through faith, right? So I think like for me, faith and the belief in God, for me it's what really moves my life, because I truly believe that there is the material that we're thinking, but then that the spirituality that we don't see it, but if you understand what is the spiritual path, it's much easier for you to navigate what we see. But when you don't have that spirituality, it's harder to deal with life.
Yes.
This is for me, right? So, and then when I was going through that, I was just like, okay, what this is trying to tell me here, like what I can see, but what the spiritually is trying to also teach me.
Yeah.
And then I think the faith of like if I believe in the God that I believe, he knows what he's doing, right? And then I have to believe in him. And just please continue to give me the strength and building my faith to go through it.
Yeah.
And because what you're doing, it's not me. And because I'm being Christian for a long time, when I started MG, it was like MG is like Maira Genovese, but at one point I was like, I'll let people to think that it's Maira Genovese, but actually it's like my God in power. It's just like it's not about me, it's about my God in power. But it's not everyone that is Christians or believe in God, so it's difficult for you to go around and say, oh, the name of my agent is my God in power. So I left MG to be an interpretation of whatever you wanted to interpret it. So but like the real me is my God in power.
And I think it's good to speak about it, because we're all sort of finding our way into, even if it's God or if it's the universe or some sort of power outside of ourselves, that learning to cultivate that kind of relationship with it just helps you to get through all those tough periods.
It helps a lot, and helps understand life, I think, is more than anything, right? So I think and put a lot of things in perspective. I've lost my father when I was 26. I was already living in London. So then it's just like, okay, when someone dies, there's nothing you can do. You cannot just go and change that. But if you're going through a difficult period like what I've been with the business, I can change this.
Yeah.
But I have to believe in something beyond the material thing.
Yeah.
That is going to give me the strength to change that situation, because it is in my power to change if I have the faith, if I believe that God is doing something to, to renew myself or to make me more aware of things that I was not before. If you think that everything that is a purpose behind, you just go and you do it, because we can change everything.
Yeah.
Because it's in our power
Yeah.
to change.
Yeah.
But there's things that you cannot change.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
when
yeah.
my father died, I could not change.
Yeah.
But everything that it's here, it's
Yeah.
possible to change.
Yeah.
And for me, the faith and the belief in God helps me to wake up in the morning and say, okay,
Yeah.
I have my faith, and
Yeah.
God's gonna show me the way, and then I
Yeah.
will believe, and I'm gonna make it happen.
And you're not alone.
I'm not alone.
You have
This is the
you have that
best
feeling.
part. Oh my
Yeah.
God, this is the best part. Knowing that you're not alone, for me,
Yes.
it's so good.
Yeah, yeah. And you must be, dealing with a lot of young people now who are, I guess maybe some of them are more in the new age spirituality type of
Yes.
things, but I'm sure you can resonate with them on that level and be that kind of leader to them in
Yeah.
terms of that. I mean, I'm curious as well what you think about, because you're quite new into
Yeah,
this
so I
journey.
mean, I was raised Christian, and my family are all evangelical Christians, and I know I've taken a lot away from that, but I think just as I've kind of got older, I'm just more open to other walks of life, and I'm reasonably well traveled, and I think there is quite a lot of judgment just in the Christian community on certain faiths, and which I've struggled with, so I think we're all on our own spiritual journey, but I'm actually I guess connected with my own spirituality on a very different level in recent years, and I think I take a lot away from my upbringing, but just being able to I mean I practice meditation and stuff, and it's
Best.
I've just been very experienced just a higher connection spiritually than ever before, and become very self-aware, and also I mean I was just listening to you talk. If you have a certain vision for yourself, but also for life, you're going to attract the right people into your life for whatever reason. They'll be attracted. If you operate by ego, then you will attract people, but they're going to be probably the wrong people. And actually, this is another thing on your this authenticity piece.
Yes.
I wanted to touch on this, and it's more on the influencer piece. Because a lot of people are very good actors. And they can do great things, and a lot of them can make a lot of money. But how do you tune into that authenticity? And it's partly the question is when you're building a brand and a culture, you're obviously leading people, and you want to attract the right people with the right skills into the business. And just because we're all equal as humans, there might be different skills that might have a higher value. But as far as the authenticity piece, when you're working with brands and when you're working with influencers and you're trying to match the two together, can you comment at all on that? Because we can all. I mean, I could have answered it I could have just answered that question.
That was very
in a different way, but I'd rather just kind of lay it on the table. But
100%. So it's just one point on the spirituality that you said. Yes, it's a journey of self-discover. Mm-hmm. And once it evolves all the time, right? Mm-hmm. So there's not right and wrong. Mm-hmm. It's just like finding your own path to spirituality and how this can support your life. I think it's just like it's a life change. It's fun. Yeah. It's fun, but it's the hardest part.
It's hard.
It's the hardest part. And then when it comes to your question about creators and brands, I think authenticity. I have a difficulty with a few words in English. Be authentic.
That's good.
It's something that we were hearing a lot 2 weeks ago at MadFest. 2 weeks ago? No, it was last week. Last week I participated in a conference called MadFest here in UK, which is the biggest influencer marketing conference here.
Okay.
It's next year. If you guys are into it, you should come.
Yes.
Okay.
And you know, every talk and a lot of amazing brands were talking, and you know, about how to be authentic as a brand, as a creator, as an influencer. But I think it's being authentic. It's not more a thing. It's mandatory, right? Because when I started 7 years ago, this was just like nothing was authentic. There was no story behind content. It was just like, oh, I'm here drinking my, you know, Evian water.
Right.
And just hold the water and take the picture and then make that very polished, you know, edit and the colors and the filters. We don't buy this anymore.
No,
a
we're
long
sick of it
time
now.
ago, right? So we don't. So first of all, we buy stories, right? So like we're talking here about stories. You talk about your story, my story. That's what sells, right?
Yeah.
People are more interested in real stories, and content with creators, with influencers is the same. Even if we're doing an advertising for a brand like Avians and water, what's the story behind that content? Because you want it to be authentic. You just don't want it to get paid to talk about something that is going to be, you know, empty in terms of a storytelling behind, because people will buy that ad if there is something that is gonna be resonate
With
to
them,
them,
connected
or
with them,
connected with them. So there's a lot of ways of creating campaigns that has a strong storytelling behind that's gonna sell your product. And one of the talks that I went last week was Dove, and I'm a big fan of Dove, the brand.
Yeah.
And the CEO was talking about this. It's been 20 years now that Dove is doing that campaign, that empowering any type of beauty, and 20 years that they're creating stories about empowering who you are, and don't let the filters and the social to actually change the way that you look. And they recently did a campaign that they actually won an awards this year in Cannes Lions, that TikTok launched a filter that I forgot the name, but I think it's a glow filter, something like that.
Filter.
And basically, when you use that filter, it's really changed your skin. It's making you the fillers and the Botox. It's really changed you, but looks like it's natural, but you can see that it's a filter. And it became like a big thing on TikTok. So every young girl, everyone was using this glow filter, and it was a big thing. And then Dove was like, no. And then changed your body as well with the filter. You can make yourself skinnier. You can add anything. So, and then Dove was like, no, this is beyond.
Goes against our values.
It's just like how this filter can change your body, changing your other filters. And no, because young girls especially, they're going to start seeing themselves on these filters. And then when they look at the mirror, they will see that they're nothing like that. So Dove did a campaign that is called Turn Your Back to Glow Filter. So basically they engage with a lot of creators worldwide. That instead of they using the filter, they were turning their back to the filter. And this exploded.
Wow, amazing.
There was an explosion campaign. And a lot of creators get really excited about participating, because they were like, yes, we should turn our back to glow, because it's gonna damage young girls' mental health. It's gonna damage the way we look at the mirror when you go to the real life. We're not gonna accept ourselves. So, and then Dove started this campaign, and honestly, the numbers, it's unbelievable, and it just won an award for that. So then we talk about being authentic. So how, because brands, they always have a responsibility as well to create narrative and stories that is still gonna sell their product, but they are going good for us, for the consumer. So that's what's exciting me more about MGs. Like, how can I work with brands where we can still find ways to sell your products through the creators, through influencers, through social media, but more of like a purpose-led
Yes,
campaign.
definitely. Yeah. No, I love. No, this is so good
Not
because
just greenwashing, not just greenwashing.
Yes.
Because people can see through that now. And
yeah, of
Exactly.
course, exactly. I mean, literally just last year, it was all about retention editing, which is making sure all the videos are quick and snap and changing like this, and there's filters and effects and stuff like that. And now it's just put the camera on. It can be 360p resolution and just talk, and then no edit.
Yeah, and
so
no
that's what
ed-
people want. We want connection, right?
We want connection, and
Yeah.
it's just like, and then I think this influencer thing that we like when I started as influencers, like if you have 500,000, 1 million, you are an influencer, but this doesn't exist anymore. You are an influencer. You are an influencer. I am an influencer. This regardless of how many followers we have, because I can influence my community of 5,000. You can influence your community of 10,000, because whoever is following us, we already influencing it somehow. So we all have a responsibility on how we're influencing, regardless if we're making money out of it or not, right?
Yeah, either way, even if you're influencing one person.
And actually, it's funny because there was a not a low point, but sometimes you question yourself, why am I doing this? It's taking all this time and energy and money and everything else. And I spoke to one of our listeners. I won't mention her name, but she's in her 40s, and she said that listening to Rocket Pod's interviews, she's been re-inspired. She now jumps out of bed in the morning. She's got these bigger ideas. Because at the end of the day, we interview visionaries, folks that have had an idea and put that into the physical world, just like you did with, MG Empower. And, even when, there's lots of headwinds and there's lots of reasons why not to do it, it's kind of the hard road. So this was like a year ago, wasn't it? 11 months ago or so. And that was, at the time, it was like, yes, that's confirmation that we're doing the right thing. And we're still here. And it's a good reminder, actually, because that's one person we spoke to. We need to do probably a better job on actually engaging our listeners more and seeing what they want and what they like about it, what we're doing, what we don't like. But sometimes if you can, I think when I started this, with Harry and Peter, in the early days, it was very much about, we're in a privileged position, or I'm in a privileged position to be having these conversations in the first place. And to your point earlier, I think as entrepreneurs, I think we have a responsibility to leave the world in a better place than we found it. And how can we use our privilege to actually, to add value to the world? A lot of folks out there wouldn't be able to have this conversation now.
100%.
They might be in, sub-Saharan Africa, but actually if there's something that we talk about that might think, actually, well, I can't speak English, but, if Maira can do it, then I can, and whatever it is, So
I think is that
just confirmation, isn't it?
There's a confirmation, and sometimes we don't need many, as you said. It's just like one, as you said, for the listen that gave you that feedback. It's changed things, because you're like, okay, well, I'm making an impact. Even if it's one person. And then I think that's what keeps you motivated to do what you do, because at the end of the day, that's what we want. We wanted to see how, through our experience and the work that we do, how we're impacting other lives, and how can we support, other people and together trying to change the world. I know we're not going to change the world, but, every small little things helps. Because sometimes we're going to have people that listening to us today that they're going to go and say, wow, I'm going to start seeing things differently. And we probably would not even know that you touched that person, but you did. And I think this is what makes us, excited.
So I guess staying on that, as we're, getting towards the end of our time, but, the people who are listening are, probably people who want to make their way online and do their thing online in the creator economy, especially. So do you obviously don't give away all your secrets, but especially still sticking on the whole storytelling.
She might want to.
Yeah, maybe she does. Maybe she does. But obviously storytelling is a massive part of it. But for those who are wanting to maybe start a side hustle, be a content creator, a marketer, or start a company, are there any sort of insider kind of tips that you could give when it comes to that whole storytelling piece and how integral that is to sending your message out nowadays?
Yeah, I think for any, like for creators or for someone that wants to start a business, I think they always say it's because to everyone, it's just to start, just start, just be who you are, be authentic to what you believe. Don't do what other people are doing just because it's working for them. It's not gonna be necessary that's gonna work for you. But I think the most important thing for me is just like never let anyone to tell you what you can and what you can do, because it's not other people's responsibility to tell what you can and what you can't. Because throughout my whole life, and not just MG, my whole life, I heard people saying, you cannot do this. It's going to be impossible for you to achieve that. You're moving to London. Oh my God, you're not going to have what to eat because London is very expensive. You don't speak English. Where are you going to live? So for my whole life, I have people saying to me things that I wanted to do. And when I was going, what do you think? They're like, impossible. And then every no that I have had, it became a yes for me within me. Because every time I was people saying, no, you can't, or no, I'm not going to give you this job, or no, I'm not going to help you. That no was transforming inside me in a big yes. Like, yes, I can.
Yes.
So I think that's the thing that for everyone, like any type of job or anything you wanted to do on social or not social, it's just like, if you believe in yourself, just go and do it. You're going to fail, you're going to succeed, you're going to fail again, and you're going to succeed again. You're going to learn, you're going to meet nice people, you're going to meet nasty people, but it's just don't give up, because if you believe in you, because if you don't believe in you, no one is going to believe, period.
Yes. And for those that are on their journey now and looking ahead as we move into the future, we kind of touched at the beginning that everything's changing really rapidly. Are there any sort of structures that you've implemented into MG, or just in your personal life, just how you kind of adapt so that you could pass on to some of the viewers?
Yeah, I think it's just like, be curious, right? Be curious, understand what's happening in the world, not on social, but in politics, in a global environment. I think there's so much going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
And I think be curious. It's very important, to read a lot and to adapt quickly, and test and learn. Like this AI whole thing is just like, just don't wait until you see what's going to happen with AI. Like, if it's a ChatGPT, just test and learn. How can you work with ChatGPT? If there is a new platform with AI that can create mock-ups on design, test and learn. How does it look like doing this mock-up, this design using AI? It's just like not being afraid of test and learn.
Especially because
because if you wait until you see what creators are doing with AI, what brands are doing with AI, it's going to be too late.
Yep.
And TikTok is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Before pandemic, TikTok was just, people were saying it's just for teenager. It's just an app for you to, for the music app that you can mimic music and do dance. And then you speak with brands, let's go to TikTok. Let's open an account for your brand on TikTok. No way. It's an app for music app. It's like, it's not. TikTok is going to be a big thing. Brands was like, no, we speak with creators that we used to represent. Open an account on TikTok, because TikTok is no way. This is for teenagers. Then pandemic came, everyone got bored, everyone wanted to TikTok, from teenager to adults to like every type of people went to TikTok.
Yes.
After pandemic, TikTok exploded. Brands that, on board on TikTok early age was great, because they already have their communities there. When TikTok exploded, they exploded together.
Yeah.
The creators and brands that didn't have anything on TikTok, they have to start building TikTok from the beginning, but the beginning was already kind of
it's
late.
gone,
So I
yeah.
think it's just like test and learn,
Test and learn.
and don't be afraid.
Especially because it's so young, right?
Yeah.
And there's still so much. I mean, you have experts, but it's kind of
There's no expert.
yeah.
Everyone is test and learn.
Everyone's
right
still
now.
in trial and error mode. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So you would definitely say that AI is the thing to look out for as sort of that next thing. I mean, I did read actually by 2027, I think it is, general artificial intelligence will be basically at the level of a professional worker. So right now it's actually still quite young in its capabilities, but it's gonna come around the corner quite quickly. So
yes, but again, I don't want people to feel afraid of like, oh, it's coming quickly, and then I'm gonna have with my work, because we need to understand that AI is an intelligent artificial, and then we as a human, we're gonna have to learn how to work with generative AI,
yes,
right? With the tool,
yes,
because the tool is not gonna do what they have to do if we don't learn how to work with the tool, right? And I talk on the perspective of creative and strategists, right? Because I think, oh, we're not going to have designs anymore. We're not going to have creators anymore because the generative AI is going to do my design. But no, because you still need the creative person to learn how to prompt the generative AI to create that design for you. So yes, it will help. It's gonna add value rather than take away jobs. So I think that's what people need to stop being afraid of. Like, oh, but what's gonna happen with? Because we still gonna have to prompt to learn. It's like coding. Remember HTML when you have to learn how to code and to do the thing? It's the same. It's the same.
Yeah, it won't just go off and do whatever. You have to tell it what to do.
Yes.
Is there anybody that you think we should interview that would have the mindset that they want to give and obviously add value to the young listeners out there that might be looking to get into the industry, but also as a kind person that that you think might move the needle? Obviously, we're a very tiny podcast. Xander's charged with obviously getting traction and all that stuff. So obviously that is part of it. But is there anybody that you'd recommend?
I can definitely recommend you guys. I think if you're talking about creators, I think I would suggest a creator, an influencer to come.
Oh, fantastic.
That can give you that perspective about what we discuss here a lot, right? So the good and the bad on social, how to be authentic, what's the play of the storytelling.
Yeah.
And one thing that I talk a lot with influencers and talents is like not the young ones, the young generation, but the generation that has been doing this for over 10 years. So now they are much more aware of how to manage their time on social.
Okay.
And then I think that is a great point to be discussed with the new generation of creators that are coming in, because they can become really addictive to it. Oh my God, I need to put my stories. Oh my God, I need to create content.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is the YouTube, is the TikTok, is Instagram, is Snapchat, how I'm going to create content at all. But when you speak with creators that's doing this for 10 years, they have very good, piece of advice on managing time, how not to have the FOMO, that you have to be in no platforms, because you don't. You have to be on the platform that's actually your audience there and what is for you. Because sometimes the creators, they feel that pressure that, oh my God, I have to be in 5 platforms at the same time, creating different content, but it's not like that. So I think, to get that perspective from an influencer that's been doing that quite a lot for a long time, and to help the ones that are trying to become, or not to become, because as I said, I think we all influence, but there are people that are investing more because they want to make a living out of that, right? And then we want to make a living out of that. Then I think a good creator influencer that's been doing this for a long time, they can give you guys a lot of piece of advice.
That would be really amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, it would be really cool to get into the minds of that. And I guess from your perspective, before we sign off, do you have any parting wisdom from the side of someone who kind of manages these connections between content creators and even brands as well, someone who's wanting to go into that sort of role in that space? Do you have any parting wisdom?
To manage both, you mean?
Just being sort of, in that space, not particularly a influencer or even a brand, but kind of, someone who wants to get clients like influencers or even brands and work in this environment.
Yeah, I think it's just like, because you can be independent, right? So there's one way is like being a talent management, where you're gonna have talents that you're gonna manage. And I think this is an industry that recently has exploded.
Yeah.
Because again, when I started, there was not many influencers and creators out there.
Yeah.
But now there's many. Yeah. And then the way they're working now is very different from 10 years ago, because now you have to have, a manager or a talent management agent that can help you with reading contracts, because like legal contracts for talents now, it's so important because of the image rights. Again, when I started, the image rights was not something too relevant, but today is the big part of an influencer contract. Because if you're charging for image rights for 1 month, is one cost. If they're using your image just for social, is one cost. If they're using your image for social, for a website, for out of home, then is another cost. If they're using your image for global rights, that is going to be beyond the UK. So today is so important that a talent has a very good legal advisor behind them, but to have a legal advisor behind it is expensive. So it's better if you are, if you have a manager that can help you with that. And then the invoicings, the VATs of things, creating content, how the content is going to be creative. Does it require, as a filmmaker, or I can do myself, or how I'm going to add? So it's become a business that influencers, they need support as they grow, and to negotiate with brands, getting the deal done, getting the deal signed. So I think there's a lot of opportunities in this industry, that not necessarily being an influencer or a creator. So talent management is something that's very hot out there right now. You can be an independent talent manager, or you can be a talent manager from an agency that only manages talent. And on the brand side, or you can work in an agency, then you can have access to brands. Depends on who you want. If you want to be more strategically creative and helping brands to create campaigns, or if you want to work for the brand. To actually helping the brand to navigate into this. So it's an industry that is full of opportunities
loads.
now. Loads.
Absolutely. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Maira. It's been an absolute masterclass.
It's been brilliant. Can you recommend a book? Has there been a book that you've read in the past decade that's impacted you, that you recommend? I love reading. So
do you read or you watch?
I do both. But nowadays with timing that is more limited. You tended to read more. But I have a goal this year that I need to read more, because I used to love to read. There's a lot of books that I read, but there's one that talks a lot about resilience. And it's called Resilience, the book.
Okay.
Yes. Because it's something that that book helped me a lot. Last year, how to build and rebuild resilience, over time. And that book helped me a lot.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, check it out. And also, I know it's a bit of a cliche question, but if you were to meet someone for a coffee, who would that be? Do you have anyone that you'd really want to meet? And you never know, Rocket Pod might be able to facilitate that at some point.
If there's someone that I really like to meet, what's his name? It's a spiritual guru. God, his name is on my top of my my tongue.
What does he look like?
I
probably know.
It's very well known. You guys probably know him.
Jay Shetty.
Jay Shed, I love Jay. Yes, it was not him, by the way. It was not him.
Deepak Chopra?
Yes.
Oh, there
yes,
you go.
Yes,
Deepak
here we go.
Chopra.
Okay, there you go.
Like,
Well,
but actually,
you got it. I just done a meditation
this is the one I was thinking, and then
Okay.
I could not remember his name. But I would love to have a coffee with
Okay.
him because I'm on that path of my life. It's just like,
Okay.
how can I add the spirituality into business? Because we don't talk about business and spirituality. And for me, this has been a life change, like how to combine spirituality with business, which people think it's crazy, but it's not. And I'm really into it right now, right?
Okay.
It's
I think
just-
didn't Simon Alexander Ong, one of our other guests, didn't he do a thing with Deepak?
Maybe.
Might have done. Anyway, we'll see. We'll
yeah,
work. We'll
and,
get
and
work
Jay,
on it.
I love him.
Yeah.
Like I know his book is amazing. It
Think
was
Like
one
a
of the
Monk.
first. Yes, think like it was one of the first books I read.
Okay.
When I started getting to
Yeah,
this,
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
meditation and the
Definitely.
spirituality path. And he was the beginning of his podcast. So my dream would be on his podcast. Oh, he on our podcast. So I would love to
Yeah.
have a conversation with him over coffee.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've just read The Monk That Sold His Ferrari.
Oh,
is an
okay.
oldie,
He's
but that was
another guy.
that was pretty good. I read it in like
that's
4
very
days.
Very good as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll try and see what we can do. Yeah.
Yes,
You never know,
like
you never
make
know,
my
you know,
dream
small
come
world.
true. Yes, I'm very into those paths, like his spirituality, meditation,
Me too.
yoga, because it helps with business, and people
Yes,
think they don't,
it
but
does.
it really helps, guys. It's just like it's proven that
Yeah.
helps.
Maybe
Yeah.
we need to do another episode and dive more into that because I'm definitely big into that side of things as
Yes.
well. So
But maybe we catch up in 3 years' time.
Yes,
Because
you-
that's kind of, and just see where we're at,
amazing.
yeah.
But good. Well, thank you for your time. I know
Thank you guys.
been
Thank
really
you
fun.
so
So
much.
much.
Love
Yeah.
being here, and then all the success, and then count on me for anything you guys need.
Thank you so much.
So how do people find you? Sorry, we forgot to. Is there a plug? MG
Yes,
Empower.
MG
or-
Power website, and then my own socials. It's every channel. I'm as Maira Genovese on Instagram, LinkedIn, all the channels. Maira Genovese, you'll find me. And then if you want to contact me, DM me for mentorship, coaching, or just having a coffee. I love meeting new
Yay.
people.
Okay.
And I think it's part of my journey is helping others more than ever. I get this strong feeling that
Yeah.
Excellent.
that is part of my purpose.
Yeah, I can feel the energy too. So
Yes.
it's good.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much,
Cool,
guys.
thank you,
Thank
Take care.
you. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's it.